Hey, what's up? Liron here, and in this episode of Painting Masters, we'll look at works by Darek Zabrocki. Now, you may notice something's a little different about these ones, and yes, this is the first digital artist that we have here. He's a concept artist, and I thought it would be really cool to show something that's extremely different, once again, from everything I showed here so far. So it's digital art. He's a concept artist, which means he designs worlds and builds characters, which is incredible. And I actually discovered his work on LinkedIn, which is really funny, and decided to feature him because I saw a couple of paintings and I felt like I'm getting sucked into the world he created, and I think you'll feel the same, and I think you'll really enjoy this one. So we're going to jump into the paintings, look at them, and let me know in a comment down below your thoughts on this, because it's a very different thing from what we usually show here, and hopefully you will enjoy this one. So I want to get started with the first painting that I saw of his, and it's this one, which is, I don't know, it's just super impressive, and I love how this week's episode is so different from last week's. We looked at a more traditional works by Vanessa Bell. This time it's completely different. It's digital art, and the one thing that completely attracted me to this scene and made me really captivated and want to look at more of his work is this windmill. I have to say that it's huge compared to these boats. Think about it this way. These boats are closer to us, and this windmill is quite far if you can look at the houses and all the buildings, and I've never seen anything like it. So as soon as you see it, it's very striking. It's like, wow, what is that? And if we zoom in on the details, you can see, and this is, again, the first time I'm reviewing digital art here, and it's not really a review, it's just like, let's be in awe together. And one aspect of digital art that I love is that you can rework things and keep patching things up and improving and adding and removing. You have a lot of freedom when it comes to the materials, when it comes to effects, which allows for some amazing results. And I just think there's a lot going on here. If you look at just a single boat, there's so much when it comes to the mast and the rigging and the sails and how it connects to the sea. And then you have these smaller boats closer to us. You have beautiful ripples on the water. By the way, I have a really cool surprise for you in a painting I'll show you in a moment. You have this guy working here, and then you get the city in light, and I love the exaggerated light and shadow effects. There's this area is well lit, this one's more cloudy, then again well lit. It's just pure genius to lay all of these elements one on top of the other and achieve this kind of a thing. And then in addition to that, a lot of movement in the sky with the birds, and just beautiful, beautiful work. So let's move on to the next one. Now here, I wanted to show you a contrasting example of how you can achieve a lot with fewer details. And it's still pretty detailed, I would say, but you see that's much fewer details. And in addition to that, if you look at the color scheme, it's much more simplified. Here it's been simplified greatly. If you look here, you look at obviously it's a very, you know what, I don't even want to say it's simplified. It's more it's not that it's simplified, it's just more cartoony and simplified. If you look here, there's a lot of sepia, a lot of yellow, a lot of red. But then as we move to this one, it's very strong around the red, the orange and the blue. And you just get these two to battle it out, and then a bit of purple here. But it's been simplified in a way that makes this look even more cartoony or more oriented at children, but still has a very, not necessarily even children, you know, just you can see so many video games that adults play that have this kind of a design. It's more niche, and I love that. I love that kind of a thing. Now, if you look at the different effects of the brushes, that's really cool. You can see all of these. And obviously, it's never going to be probably the same as traditional. There are differences, but I don't know. I just love this. The combination of different brush marks and looks like it's mixed media or different materials. I think it's really clever. Even when you look at these edges, there's a lot of cleverness in how he breaks them. For example, this hill starts with a sharp edge, then it goes blended here. Clouds, the same thing. Very sharp edges that kind of envelop this castle, but then it's softer down below. So a lot of clever plays. The water here is obviously a little more blended and blurry. A lot of cool things going on. And the birds. I love how they contrast against the dark blue sky. It looks like light and happy sky, but it's pretty dark. if you look at the value. Here's another really cool one. And by the way, I will link down below to everything, obviously, his links. You can check out his work. He has descriptions for all of these so you can read more about the actual painting. And it's mostly his recent work, so you'll have an easy time finding it. This one from afar, I really wanted to look at it and look at the details. And I think it's just the atmosphere is so happy, and I love that. There's action, they're running, looks like a wedding. And it looks like a magical kind of fantasy scene, but then there's a car here. And that's like, wow, okay, I don't know. I feel like the car actually could be removed. I'm just imagining it now without it. I think it would look really cool without it too. But in any case, really beautiful scale. I love the sense of scale in his works. And that's something you see here as well. Just like the Windmill. This is a huge structure, church, whatever it is, just beautiful. Here I wanted to show you this one because there are a couple of interesting things going on. I love the motif or the theme of mud and like maybe returning from battle, and look at the texture here of the brush. There's all this mud which strengthens the concept of this is war or returning from war. It's dirty, it's not something clean, it's, you know, and so that's one thing that really jumped at me. Another thing I would say is the very rough brush marks when it comes to the highlights, especially if you look at the people here. It's very clear. You can see the brush marks, which is something I love. I love that in oil paintings. I love that in watercolor. I love when the brush mark is visible. Some of it has been simplified. So that's another thing. Now, another thing that you can really see here is how he connects everything in this is something you'd see Alvaro Castanet does a lot. A lot of strong horizontal shadows connect with people, and it's all connected. You see this shadow cuts through all of the people. This shadow as well. And some of these are cast shadows by them, like this looks like a cast shadow by this soldier here. But still, it cuts through and connects everything together. It creates a harmonious result that makes this look like an even one. For example, if he'd do one shadow for this guy, one shadow for this guy, another one for this guy, it wouldn't have that same effect that I really love. And then if we look at the color harmony, it's a really clever use of it could be seen as a French ultramarine burnt sienna kind of combination, and then some yellow or yellow ochre or muted yellow that I really love. And again, the brush textures you see here, very, very clever design, I would say. Let's see. Okay, so here's the treat I had for you. So I was looking at his art, and then suddenly I see this one. And immediately, this is the digital art. Immediately, I'm like, I saw Zbukvic paint the exact same scene. And then I read the description, and he did a class for the students in which he did a study based on his Zbukvic painting, which is really, really cool to see a rendering of the same scene with a few mild differences done digitally. I think that's the kind of thing I really love seeing. And you can tell by you can tell it's the signature Zbukvic. The way you can tell it is by the interpretation of the people, of the boats, the values that he chooses to focus on. Zbukvic has this thing where he loves this kind of a value structure when doing against the light painting. It's really a clear sign of his. All of these smaller highlights, he loves to do these things. The birds, a lot of very obvious things if you've seen a lot of his paintings, and that was really a cool surprise for me. And it's just fun seeing how you make the exact same thing only digitally. Now if you look at this again, scale, I don't know why he loves that. He made some changes here. Obviously there's this arch that I don't see in the original painting, though it could be a matter of crop. Maybe he zoomed in so you don't see it, maybe he zoomed out so you do see it, but then this rounded structure, look how he made it larger. So that's really interesting to see. He likes to make things grandiose and huge and exaggerate them, and he moved things around. So this tower is here, it's placed differently, and then he used this space to make the dome larger. So a lot of clever things and clever ways of seeing how you can change the composition and still create a very interesting impression. Next up, there's this one, probably a study from Love, Death, and Robots, which is a Netflix series. Turns out I barely watch TV, so I didn't know that. Now, I don't know anything about, I don't know much about him, but he seems to be doing a lot of studies of the different pop cult TV series and stuff like that. That's a really good way of improving. However, he may have taken part in the design of some of these, so I don't want to say maybe he took part in the design of this. I didn't read enough of the background. I tend not to, because I care more about the art. But if I am, I'm sorry if you know that he actually designed something that I'm showing you and it's not just a study, let me know. I'm curious to know, and I will stand corrected. I just have no idea. But in any case, this is based off that, it seems. Because many times these artists are the ones who do the designs for the different TV series and all of that, the concept design. So that's really cool. Here's another one which I love, because in the beginning I didn't even notice, but you see there's this, obviously, like a very traditional building, like a cathedral, lots of spires, lots of sharp edges, kind of reminds me of a lot of the things I saw in Paris. But then if you look at it from afar, you suddenly realize there's these arches, these different things that kind of look like a more modern structure in the background, and maybe even a post-apocalyptic thing, or just a futuristic design that's really cool, because I didn't even notice it. And I love how he doesn't show us exactly what it looks like. It's just a silhouette, and it makes you think, oh, so this isn't our universe. It's maybe a different imaginary universe. And I don't know, I love that idea. And here maybe, is it some kind of a aircraft, or is it clouds? I don't know. It looks good. I love the combination of the two elements. Next up, we have this, very similar to what you would see of me more often, which is really cool. Very wide scene, I have to say, very wide, and you see the square beautifully with the fountain and everything. I love how the fountain works against the light, that you can see the light shines through the water sparkling. It's just so clever. So I really like this one. I don't remember if it's Rome or somewhere else. It looks like Rome, but I don't know. I always confuse European cities, but it definitely looks like Italy. Let me know if I'm wrong here. And here's another really cool one I love. But I wanted to show you something interesting. If you want to look at more details here, I love that there was a story, people going up on boats. I was just really excited for the next one, so I skipped. But look at this one. This is super detailed. So many things going on here, and so many small, interesting details. The edges, I love how they're blended. I love that kind of a thing, and I love that. But it's just so much going on, and I absolutely love it. But I want to show you the next one. Look at how simple you can go and still convey the mood and atmosphere in a pretty perfect way for me, which I love. And on top of that, it's a very minimized color scheme. You have this blue, yellow, and green, which is a very unique one. I don't think I see a lot of this this combination. It's really nice. It's very interesting. It's just a yellow and a blue, and then the green that probably is created by them. It's just so smart. And on top of that, very simplified brush marks that kind of hint at what we're looking at, some kind of a castle. So I don't know, I found this one really cool, and I wanted to share that, save it for last, because it's one of those things that really make you think, okay, so I don't need much information. It's more about how I structure things in the composition and all of that. If you contrast it with this huge, super detailed painting that's obviously beautiful. I love it. It's just interesting to see how the two work. What I love is the divine feeling of sky here, especially if you see the peaches and the blues and all sorts of clouds working together to create this beautiful impression. But in any case, I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you enjoyed seeing his paintings. I've been talking a lot, so now it's time for me to take a break, and now let's wrap it up face to face. So this is it for this one. I hope you enjoyed seeing Darek's work. I will put down below some links so you can read more about him, because I don't tend to talk a lot about the artists. That's not my natural tendency. I want to show the art and let that speak for itself. So if you're looking for more like talk about the artists themselves, I may not be the right source, but it's like episode 50 of Painting Masters, so you should know that by now. But in any case, I hope you enjoyed this one, and let me know if you want to see more of these types of artists that aren't necessarily traditional. I think I'll always have a traditional heart in this channel, but as I grow more and expand my artistic horizons, I also don't want to get in a rut, and I don't want to feel like I built a cage for myself. I want to be able to do whatever I want and break the routine once in a while. So let me know what your thoughts are, and I will see you again in the next episode and in the next vid real soon.